Be'ezus Hashem, today's daf is daf Chav Vav. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. We're going to begin by the Mishnah on daf Chav Vav Amar Aleph. Zug the Heilige Mishnah. The Mishnah is discussing a sofer who really, it was very hard in ancient times to write up a whole document. Maybe there was only one person that knew how to write in the whole town. So therefore, they wanted to make it easier on the sofer. And therefore, the sofer will write up the template of like you do on a ksuba, the template of the get. And so the Mishnah says that's permitted to do. Because the Mishnah, we'll learn the Mishnah because the Torah says because of law. The kaisa, as we have on the screen, because of law, you have to write a get lishma. So according to Rabbi Lezer, you have to write, the get has to be written lishma. But that only means the toirif of the get, which is with the resh, the revealed part of the get. The toifes, which is called the template of the get, that does not have to be written lishma. So let's read.
Didn't some lady pay for like a template to be made and put up on a wall somewhere? I heard once.
Of a template of a get to be written on the wall.
Yeah. So somebody else knew how to do it. There was some famous thing.
Yes, but maybe to be copied from that template.
Yeah, to be copied. Yeah.
To be copied. But here, the Mishnah is saying that the sofer could have it all prepared. So when the guy and the lady, when the lady and the husband and the wife come into his office, he can just fill out the names, like a ksuba. So according to the Mishnah, it's permitted. We don't hold like that. When you go for a get, no one should know go for get, but then when they go for a get, they write from the very beginning. But in the Mishnah, it says hakoisif toisei gittin. If the sofer writes the template of the get, right? So the question is, you have to write lishma. So what's the issue? What's going to be the din with lishma? So tzorach sheyaniach, he has to leave over space mokaim ish, a place for the man's name, mokaim isha, a place for the woman's name, or mokaim hazman, and a place to write in the date of the get. That's the only thing. The rest of them could be like a ksuba template. Now the Mishnah says, shtori milva. What about a loan? Again, now technically, a loan, let's say I know that Reuven is lending Shimon money. It's going to happen in a week. So why can't the sofer write it up right now? There's no din l'shma by a loan document. But the Mishnah says, yes, if you want to write a loan document that did not occur and you want to have a template, you have to leave a place for the name of the lender, and the name of a place for the borrower, is a place that shows how much money is being borrowed, and the time. So again, this calls to question why. Why can't I write the whole star milva before? It doesn't have to be written.
No, I'm still over it.
Should we take my voice downstairs and see if it fits? And see if the knobs fit?
The knobs scare me.
Okay, shtare mekach. But if you write a shtare mekach, a sale document, tzarach sheyaniach mokaim halakeach or mokaim hamoicha mokaim hamois mokaim hasoda mokaim hazman. If it's a sale document, again the question is, why can't you write the whole thing in advance? If you know the sale is going to happen, write the whole thing up earlier. There's no din lishma. Nevertheless, the Mishnah says you have to leave a place for the purchaser, the seller, a place for the money, how much money, what the name of the field is, and the date. And all this is mepnei hatakana. There's a special ordinance that the Chachamim said by get, by mekach, by milva, you could write a template, but you have to leave a space for the put in the names and other important indications of who the document is for. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda paisa b'kulam. Listen to this. Rabbi Yehuda says every time you write a template, it's pasal. Comes out according to Rabbi Yehuda, who's an individual, who's one opinion, is that the whole ksuba that you buy in Judaica Plus is no good, because Rabbi Yehuda holds that no document is good unless you start from scratch and start writing it up when the event is happening. There's no such a thing of a template. But we don't hold like that. Rab Lozer machshir b'kul. Rab Lozer says every template is kosher. Not only that, it seems he holds, Rab Lozer holds that everything, you can even fill the names, as long as it doesn't have to be written lishma, so you could write every document in advance. Chutz megitei nashim. Get, you have to start from scratch. Shenama, because the pasuk says, because of law, when you write a get, it has to be lishma. It has to be written up for the sake of the people that are giving the divorce. And therefore, a get, when you write a get, you have to start from scratch. And you can't write a template of a get like you have by Ksuba. So the Mishnah said, Amar Rav Yehuda Mishmol. The Mishnah is going to explain who the author of this Mishnah. And so far we have explained that the author of the Mishnah basically is Rab Elazar. Rab Elazar holds that a get has to be written lishma, and therefore you have to leave over space for the name of the man, the woman. Amar Rav Yehuda Mishmuel, Sorach Sheaniach Af Mekoim Hareyat Mutaros L'Chol Adam. You have to leave over that a statement as well, even though that seems like a template type of statement, which says you are permitted to marry anybody. That seems like a template. According to Yehuda B'Shmuel, that also has to be written lishma. And therefore, our Mishnah is Rab Elazar. Our Mishnah goes according to Rab Elazar, the Amar who said, Eidim Asira Karsi. What makes a get effective is Eidim, that witness, the man give it over in front of witnesses to the lady. Okay? You can't do this in private, according to Rab Elazar. You have to give it over in front of witnesses. And therefore, when the Torah says it has to be written for her sake, and therefore you have to write it lishma. Therefore, not only is the name of the individuals involved and the date has to be written lishma, but according to Yehuda Shmuel, the statement Hareyat Mutaros L'Chol Adam also has to be written lishma. Now, I would open parentheses and close parentheses in a moment. We just established that this Mishnah is Rab Elazar. For the past 3 Mishnayos, we've said that our Mishnah goes according to Rab Elazar. So the Gemara just opens a parentheses before it explains the rest of the Mishnah. Utzricha. Yeah, we need to tell you that all 3 Mishnayos go according to Rab Elazar. The Ashmina Hakamaisa. If we just tell you the first Mishnah that goes according to Rab Elazar, that tells you can't write a get while on a leaf that's connected to the ground, but if you disconnect it and then write it, and you sign it, it's kosher. That makes sense to say that Mishnah, the first Mishnah of this parak, basically. It goes according to Rab Elazar, the Ketani, because it says Ein Kaisman, the Ketani Ksavai. The Mishnah says the word writing a get and not writing a get. So obviously, what needs to be written lishma is some part of the get, which is not the template, but the names of the people involved. Okay, so the first Mishnah, you could say it goes according to the Rab Elazar. Aval Seifa, but the second Mishnah, Seifa over here means the second Mishnah. The Ketani She'ein Kim Get Ela B'Chaisim, of the language of that Mishnah says that what makes a get, what sustains a get, is only its signatures. That Mishnah, I would have thought, Eimer Rab Meir. I would have thought that Mishnah, the second Mishnah, goes according to Rab Meir, which is that Mishnah, if you remember, it talks about the Cheresh of a cotton writing a get, and that it's kosher if they wrote up a get. I would think that whole Mishnah is according to Rab Meir, because that the signatures are deciding the get, because the Mishnah uses the word signature. So we say, no, that Mishnah goes according to Rab Elazar. And what it means that a shaita could write up a get means that he writes the template, but he leaves over space for the name of the individual. Shema Isha, Shema Isha. Biashmin Bahi. If we'd say the Mishnah goes according to Rab Elazar by the first 2, he not like Rab Elazar. Those Mishnahs, I grant you, go according to Rab Elazar. But our Mishnah, Ema, let us say it does not go according to Rab Elazar, because we're going to learn that there is another way to explain our Mishnah according to Rabbi Meir. And then why would I say our Mishnah does not go according to Rab Elazar? Because if you notice, with the Sefer Rab Elazar, Reisha Lav Rab Elazar, the end of the Mishnah has an opinion, Rab Elazar Machshe, Rab Elazar, I mean, that's the name of the person. So if Rab Elazar introduces himself at the end of the Mishnah, it must be he's not the author of the beginning of the Mishnah. Right, so tzricha, that's why you have to tell me, no, the author of this Mishnah is Rab Elazar, but the Mishnah is saying that there were 2 opinions of what Rab Elazar said, and that's why the beginning of the Mishnah is Rab Elazar and the end of the Mishnah is Rab Elazar. It's not clear what Rab Elazar held, as we'll explain in a moment when we review the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, Mipnei hatakana. The Mishnah says there's an ordinance that every get you're allowed to write the template, right? You're allowed to write the template, but of course you have to leave over the name of the man and the woman. And same thing by a loan document, and same thing by a sale document. And what is that ordinance? Why did we make it easier? Why didn't we tell the sofer to write the get from scratch? So my takana, what was the purpose of this ordinance? That the Mishnah is telling you that we made it easier on the soifer. Because the soifer could be busy. Let's say he's overloaded with work. So in order for him to make it easier on him, when he has free time, he'll just write up the templates of gets. So when people come to him for a get, he'll be able to just have to fill in the names. It's much easier that way. And the author of a Mishnah, as we say many times, is Rab Lazar. And really, the dinhu, and really, the afila toifis nami loylichta. Really, we wouldn't want you to write the template of the get. Why wouldn't you write the template? The cause of law means only the revealed part needs to be written lishma. Rab Lazar would agree that the template could be written shloi lishma, but maybe we'll make a gezerah if you allow the template to be written in advance. People will write the revealed get in advance or shloi lishma. They'll have get and Reuven divorcing Sarah. Reuven, you'll be able to pick like you could pick your yarmulke. You pick your wife's name and you have all the getting prepared. So they didn't. I would have thought that really not to allow any sofer to write any get, because they may come to write the typhus, the tyrif of the get. So therefore, because they want to make it easy on the sofer, so they make in the scribes allowed to write the template. Just leave a little piece for the name. Rabbi Yehuda Paisa Bakula. Now we explain why the Rabbi Yehuda says every get, every star has to be written from scratch. Every star has to be written from scratch. Even a loan document has to be written from scratch. Why? They don't have to be written lishma, because there's a double gezerah. First of all, by a get, gazer typhus atu tyref. A get has to be written from scratch because we make an edict that we don't allow even the template to be written up in advance. Maybe you're going to write the revealed part in advance. And then gazer staris atu gittin. Then we made every star you cannot write in advance because you might write the get in advance. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda is most strict. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, as I mentioned in Mishnah, you would not be allowed to write, go to the farm store and buy a ksuba. He doesn't allow anything to be written in advance. Rabbi Lazar Machshir, and the Rabbi Lazar of our Mishnah is what we go like. That only get cannot be written in advance, but everything else could be written in advance. Chutz megittin nashim, kulam chutz megittin nashim. Toifis atu toref gazar. Toifis, that means the template, maybe you'll write the revealed part, yes, by a get. So only the get, we allowed you to write the template, but not the revealed part. But staris atu gittin like gazar. He didn't make any star. He's the most lenient. Every star you can write in advance. If you know Reuven's going to lend money to Shimon, you could write the whole thing in advance and just hold it to you when they're ready to activate it. Obviously, you'll write the time, very important to have the time correct. But everything else, the names and the date of the city and the name of the city and can be written up in advance. Because we're not geyser, if we allow stares, every star to be written in advance, you might come to write a get in advance. And the Mishnah said, Rab Lazar says, Shnema because of law. You have the reason why you're not supposed to write it in advance, the template, because it says because of law. You have to write it lishma, which doesn't make sense. Because Rab Lazar says that you can't write the template in advance because it says you have to write it lishma. Valki kasiv law, when the Torah wrote you have to write in for lishma, it has to be for her sake. It's only talking about the real revealed part of the get, not the template part of the get. So why did the Mishnah say that? It doesn't make sense. Ela ema, what Rab Lazar says, mishum shenema, because mishum shenema is different than shenema. Shenema is the reason for it. Mishum shenema is because it's a derivative of that. Because it says because of lo lishma, it says you have to write lishma. And therefore, the Torah has to be written lishma. The revealed part of the get has to be written lishma. So if you allow the typhus to be written in advance, you might write the Torah in advance. So therefore, the whole get cannot be written in advance. So again, according to this opinion, Rabbi Lazar at the end of the Mishnah says that only a get cannot be written in advance. You have to start from scratch from a get. But the ratio of the opinion is also according to Rabbi Lazar, and that in this version of Rabbi Lazar, you could write the template in advance. You just cannot write the toirif in advance. You have to leave over a space for the man, woman, and the date. So now the Gemara asks a question. You have two people quoting Rabbi Lazar's name. We go to Ahmed Beis. Hashir the Rabbi Lazar. We have a question. The Tanakam is Rabbi Lazar, and then there's Rabbi Lazar in the end of the Mishnah. That does not allow you to write a get, any part of a get in advance. Answers the Gemara, Trei Tanoi Valiba the Rabbi Lazar. There's two opinions according to Rabbi Lazar. So let us review the Mishnah. Our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Lazar that the ksiva, the writing of a get, of the toirif of the get, has to be written lishma. And therefore, the Tanakama holds the template can be written in advance, but the toirif not. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda, and he says no, that we don't allow any shtar to be written in advance because you might come and eventually write a get totally in advance. So he says, stop this whole practice. Nothing can be written in advance. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. And then there's another opinion, Rabbi Lazar, that says, look, get, you can have to start from scratch, but every star can be pre-written in advance. So that's only if you express our Mishnah, that the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar. Rab Shapsai, here's an interesting name. Rab Shapsai Omer Chizkiah. Rab Shapsai said in the name of Chizkiah, B'shum Ketatav Rab Meir. Really, none of the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. And really, the whole get could be written in advance, except the signatures. The signatures, when the Torah wrote because of law, it meant the signatures have to be signed lishma. So if that's the case, our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Meir. So then why can't I write let's say the Sofer, who's a nosy guy, he hears that Reuven's having a fight with his wife, and they know they're eventually going to come. So he's gonna write up the get. Reuven's divorcing Shimon, write the whole thing in advance. Why shouldn't he do that? So the reason the Mishnah does not allow that is because ketata, because of a fight. If the wife is going to hear that that already a get is written up with her name on it, she's going to find out that the Sofer started writing a get, so she's going to never be conciliatory. She'll never want to make up, and it'll lead to much more divorces. So that's how you're going to learn our Mishnah. And same thing with a loan document. You can say also with a loan document, if people don't want loan documents to be written in advance, even though they're going to take the loan, they don't want the word to get out that this guy's in financial trouble. Okay, so our Mishnah goes according to Rameya. That really what effectuates a get is the signatures. Uvedinu, really, our Mishnah should allow that the whole get should be written in advance except the signatures. Any part of the revealed part of the document should be written in advance. But the Zimnim, the Shamalele Seifa, the Kokosov, she's going to hear that the Seifa already pre-wrote her get, the Sabra Ihu Kamerle. She's going to think that the Seifa did it on his own, but her husband told the Seifa to do it. And this will cause a major argument. She'll never come to terms with Shalom Bayis. Therefore, we don't allow the get to be written at all in advance. We don't allow the Torah for the get to be written in advance. So the Seifa could say, I wrote it a get, but it wasn't for you. That's so if you interpret our Mishnah, it goes according to Rav Meir. So now we have a new way to interpret our Mishnah. Either it's Rav Meir or Rav Lazar. Rav Chizda Amar Avinu, Rav Chizda said, Mishum Takanas Agunas. He said our Mishnah explains the ordinance was because we don't want men and women to get divorced. And a woman should not be able to get married. But we don't know whose side Rav Chizda was. Did he say our Mishnah goes according to Rav Meir, or did he say our Mishnah goes according to Rav Lazar? Amri Law, some say Rabbi Meir, some say Rav Chizda meant that our Mishnah goes according to Rav Meir, but Amri Law, Rav Lazar, and some say our Mishnah goes according to Rav Lazar. Amri Law, Rav Meir, some say our Mishnah goes according to Rav Meir, and this is what Rav Chizda meant. Really, you should be able to write the entire get document in advance because there's no din lishma on a get according to Rav Meir. But maybe the husband will be so angry, and if it's a pre-written in advance, he's going to be so angry on her. It'll be so easy for him to give a get because it's written in advance. He just goes to the cipher, give me my get that you wrote, and let me give it to her. And because of that, she'll cause her to be an aguna, not in the conventional sense of what an aguna means, because she could technically get married. It's a kosher get, but till she finds somebody, she's without a husband. So therefore, in order to make it more more of a process so it can delay it so that he may calm down and not give her a get. That's why we don't want the get to be totally written up in advance. So that's what Rav Chizda meant of what our Mishnah held. Amri, but others say that Rav Chizda held our Mishnah is Rabbi Lazar, Dama Edi Masira Karsi, that the Edi Masira make the get. Uvidinu, and according to Rabbi Lazar, we should make a gzera that no part of the get should be written up. Because if you write the template, you might write the toifus, you might write the toirif. So therefore, you shouldn't write any part. So why did we allow the toifus be written in advance? So that's where the takonos agunas come in. Let's say this husband wants to take a sudden trip overseas, and he won't get a sofer who has the time to write the get from scratch. He's going to just get on his trip and his boat and disappear. And she's going to remain in Aguna because she'll have to wait till he comes back. And sometimes it was at risk. Maybe he never will come back. So therefore, in order to make it somewhat easier, so our Mishnah allowed the toifus, the template, be written, albeit the toiref of the get should not be written up, because our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Lazar that the toiref has to be written lishma. New Kamara, the Mishnah said that is part of the spots that you have to leave vacant, that you have to leave empty to fill it in when you're giving the get, umkaim hazman. You have to leave a get for a date. Now, we learned a Gemara before that explained what the reason why there's a date. Why can't they give a get without a date? I mean, you're not collecting money with a get, so why do I at all have to write a get with a date? Because if a woman, especially in the old days, you used to marry your niece. That's called basa choisa. You married your niece, and if she did znus, right? So you give her the get, and without a date, and they're going to tell her, "Oh, you did adultery, and you're supposed to be killed." She'll say, "I got my get," and they won't know that the get came after she did the adultery, and they won't kill her. So maybe the husband is going to give this get in order to protect her from the death penalty. That's one reason. Another reason you write the date, why it's important to write the date on a get, because any property that she owns, when a man is married to a woman, he gets to keep the rent money. Let's call it payros. He gets to keep the rent money. But after he gives her a divorce, obviously the rent money goes to her. It's her property. That's called nichse milug. So therefore, if there's no date on the get, he'll continue to collect rent even after he gave the get. And when they're going to ask him to return the rent money, he'll say, "Oh, I took this rent money before the get." And you won't be able to prove it because there's no date on the get. So that's why you have to write a date on a get. But why, the Gemara's question is, why would I have to write a get on a date on a get that was written out of engagement? Because one of the reasons doesn't apply. Because a man does not eat the payros, does not collect the rent money as long as he didn't go to chuppah with her. You see, so as long as he didn't go to chuppah, he doesn't even collect to get the rent at all. So according to that, if a man is just engaged to his wife, in that case, you don't even need to write, according to one opinion, the way we understand it, you shouldn't need to have their date in the get. So let's read the Gemara. Kapasik v'tari. Our mission is very clear. Lo yishnom in a nesuin, v'lo yishnom in a eresin. Whether you're divorcing a lady after the chuppah, after you went to the wedding, or even just after the engagement, prior to the wedding, you always have to write a date in the get. So the Gemara doesn't understand. Bishlam in a nesuin. I understand very well. After you went to chuppah, we want every get to have a date. We don't want a date written too early, because even if you write a get with an early date, it comes out you're going to protect this lady who's his niece if she did adultery, and the get was written in the cipher's hand. Let's say the cipher wrote the get in ear and he wrote the date in, and the divorce doesn't happen for Sivan, right? So then it comes out if she did adultery, you're going to protect her from getting killed because the date on the get was written too early. So you're protecting a woman that's supposed to be killed. So that's why so that's why we don't allow early dates. After your marriage, right? If you write an early date, so it comes out that everybody thinks the get was given early. And he legally, if the man legally collected the rent because the get was given over later, she's going to come claw it back and say, wait a second, my get date says I was going to get earlier in Iyar, and you had no right to collect the rent money in Iyar, so it belongs to me. But really, he only gave the get in Sivan, but the date on the get is too early. So that's why after a marriage, after a chuppah, you have to have a date. So to prevent things from happening. Elam in Erison says the Gemara, but if a husband and wife were just engaged, why would I have to have what's wrong with writing an early date? What's wrong with the Sefer writing the date earlier in advance that you're telling me in the Mishnah that he has to know? Only write it later on when they're actually giving it. The question is, I could understand having an early date would protect the niece from getting killed, because if she was engaged and she did adultery, if you have an earlier zman in the get, she'll always say, "Oh, I was get when I had adultery. I wasn't a married woman. I wasn't an engaged woman." So she's protecting herself from the death penalty. So I understand. But if you call the reason why you write a date in the get is because of to clearly define who gets the rent money, arusa mi isle peri, an engaged woman, does she get payers? An engaged woman, does the man eat the rent money? Of course not. So why would I have to have a date in a get? And what's wrong with writing an earlier date, of course, if the whole reason of writing a date on time is to clarify if the husband was allowed to collect the rent money or not. But if he was just engaged and writing a get, so he never ate the rent money at all. Ula gave the reason is because we're protecting the baby. So I don't know what Ula means. Even the Shmeitz Lahai Titania. Ula said, I heard about this brisa, and Ula explained that this brisa is protecting the child, so we can apply what Ula said of that brisa to our Mishnah. Man says, write a get for my engaged woman. Why does he want to write a get? Because when I'm going to go to the wedding day, after the wedding, and say, honey, I have a surprise for you. Agashen, I'm going to give you the get. So then, ain't a get. It's not a get. Because the zman of the get was written too early. Now, what's wrong with the zman of the get, the time of the get written early? They're going to say that, let's say he actually sleeps with her that first night, wedding night, and they have a child. Well, that child was born in wedlock. But if they're going to prove the get, if the get has an earlier zman, everybody's going to say that this kid was born after wedlock. In other words, there was no wedlock over here because the get was given and then she slept with him. And so they'll say that the child was not born out of a normal marriage. So therefore, to protect the baby, we always want a zman to be written correctly on a get, even if it's just a get in engagement. Also over here, in our Mishnah, apply the same din, that a get, even written during the engagement, we want to make sure that the zman of the get is written precisely at the right time, just in case they have a baby. If they have a baby, we can determine for sure that the baby was born during a marriage. And therefore, we're always going to say bad things about this baby, that it was born out of wedlock. Okay, New Gemara. Amar Rav, we'll finish off over here. Another minute. Amar Rav Zera, Amar Abba Bar Shela, Amar Rav Hamnuna Sava, Amar Rav Ada Bar Mahava, Amar Rav, Halacha Rab Loza. Now, halacha is like Rab Loza. Again, what did Rab Loza say? That the get has to be written from scratch. Every other star, you can, write the whole thing in advance. And the reason is, Kari Rava laid Rab Loza. Rab would say about Rab Loza, Tuvina de Chachima. He's the smartest of all the Chachamen. He has the clearest mind. Of course, we should paskin like Rab Loza. So the Gemara says, even writing up any other document, we would paskin like Rab Loza that it could be written in advance. Let's say a ksuba document or a loan document. Would we paskin like Rab Loza that it could totally be written in advance? The dayone, a ratification of a court. You see, courts would ratify shtaris, like, if you want to make sure that your shtar is 100%, that with no question, you would come to Bezdin with your shtar. Let's say you have somebody owes you money, the court will bring Eidim that say testimony that they know the signatures are kosher signatures, and then the court would like seal it and stamp it that this is a ratified document. So, but this ratification of a document by the court, the Michtadei Kamil Asad that was written in advance before the Eidim said, "Oh, these are my signatures." Let's say the court was waiting on the Eidim to come to say that they signed on this document, and before they just filled out the seal and the ratification of that document, even though it didn't happen, but it was going to happen. Psula, it's puzzle. It's nothing can be written for in advance. Alma. So we see from this Raisa, Mechse Kashikra. We're always concerned to the appearance of a lie. And therefore, hochinami mechse kashikra. When you write documents in advance of the event happening, it looks like a lie. It's it seems from the way Rapapi said in the name of Rava, we frown upon anything written in advance, written up in advance, because it didn't happen yet. So how are you going to write up a loan that happened in advance if it looks like it's when you wrote it, it actually didn't happen? And we should be concerned of that. We don't want to get involved with something that has the appearance of a lie. Velaisa. So the Gemara says the truth is not true. Everything could be written in advance. It doesn't matter. With Rav Nachman, the Amar Rav Nachman said, Rav Meir said, even if you find a document, let's say a Sefer document, he wrote Ruvain's divorcing Sarah, and the Sefer was just practicing. And according to Rameir, the ksiva does not have to be written lishma, and you signed it and give it to her, it's kosher. And so we see that even though when you wrote it, it didn't happen, Rav Nachman said, we're not worried about the appearances of lies. Rabbanan only argued about finding documents in the garbage and, making it effective only by a get, because it has to be written lishma. The being ksiv lishma, even the rest of a star stories, but every star loy that doesn't have to be written lishma. Even Rab Meir would hold. Even Rab Nachman said it could be written in advance. But we're not worried about the appearances. Amar Rabbi Yassi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and another proof. Star shalava boy uparoi. Let's say you have a star that you borrowed, and let's say you borrowed money with that star, and you paid it back. And now you want to borrow like an hour later the same amount of money. Can you reuse that star? So you can't reuse the star you can't reuse it again because this document, a star, had the power to make liens on property. And once you pay back, so this power of the document loses its power, so you can no more make liens on property. So it just becomes like a verbal loan, but the power of the document loses its essence. It's not a powerful document anymore. So, but Tama the Nimchal Shibude, it's only because this was a one-time used document. But if it was never used as a document, but it was pre-written in advance, we're not worried about Shim Shikra because it looks like a lie because it was written in advance. Like Hashinim, we wouldn't be concerned. So therefore, the halacha, okay, so remember this. Every star can be written in advance from top to bottom, from the beginning to end, except the get. And one thing about a ksuba, I think they could technically write the whole thing in advance, but they used to have the rabbi because there's a lot of problems with names and how you write the city name. So that's why you fill in the blanks over there. But any other loan document and all that, can be written in advance, except the get, according to Ablaza, has to be written from the top to the bottom. Okay.